Well, we're going over to Poplar Island first and then to Jefferson. My parents bought Poplar and Jefferson, which kind of went together in 1948.
At 7 years old, Peter Bailey moved to Jefferson Island.
My father wanted to start a resort in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay and also offer some prime waterfowl hunting and fishing. That's what landed us here.
And every island tale starts tethered to the mainland.
Lowe's Wharf brings back a lot of memories as well as Poplar and Jefferson Island because it was a critical part of the whole story. Everything that went to the island or back had to come by boat or barge. Every bit of food, fuel, everything.
While living on Jefferson Island, Peter took notice as Poplar Island's shoreline began to slip away.
It's amazing how that stuff changes, isn't it?
Poplar was the big island. It started all the way down there, came up around like this. It was 200 acres when we were here, and by the late 1900s, it was down to less than 5 acres in 2 or 3 pieces.
By 1998, the island had nearly vanished. Then the Poplar Island Restoration Project began, reconstructing the island and restoring wildlife habitat, using sediment dredged from the Port of Baltimore shipping channels to foster new life.
It's all just fascinating to me, how they do it.
On this sunny June morning, Peter makes his annual pilgrimage to Poplar to marvel at the progress. This time, he's brought his friend Joe Morris along.
This end of it is where they started, over where that dock is. That's where they brought in all the dredging and built this way, kind of worked their way north.
The project has successfully reintroduced 1,700 acres of habitat on Poplar.
The most exciting thing's gonna be when they start planting those pine trees. Then it'll get back more like what I remember.
Across the water, Peter spots a familiar sight on Jefferson.
These 2 cottages were where we lived during the construction of my father's lodge, where he rebuilt it on the same footprint of where the Jefferson Island Club was.
Before the Baileys settled there, the islands were home to the Jefferson Islands Club, the playground of the presidents, a respite from the demands of Washington for influential Democrats, including Presidents Harry Truman and Franklin D. Roosevelt.
It was quite flourishing and famous from 1930 until 1946 when their clubhouse burned to the ground.
2 years later, the playground of the presidents became the playground of a young Peter Bailey.
I was 7 years old then and was just very curious, and it was quite an adventure.
With that same spirit of adventure, Peter is returning to Jefferson Island for the first time in decades. His walk down memory lane is, of course, down a pier.
I would order things from my bicycle from Sears. I'd buy all these things and ride it up and down the pier. My mother was nervous about it because there was only railing on one side, and she thought I was going to ride off into the water, but I never did.
Peter's memories remain sturdy, but the pier is one of many structures that have required rebuilding on the eroding island.
It's so much smaller than when we were here, and the buildings are a skeleton of what they previously were, as is the island.
Peter's memoir about the island reveals just how much has changed.
You can piece it together pretty well from these pictures. All this land out here, see, is gone. A lot of this is gone. And of course, a lot of this part here, which was a marsh and a little pond back here, and the little piece of island that's left there now is out here, and all the woods is gone. You feel like part of your life is gone. That's, more profound than you can really ever explain.
The Baileys spent 3 years on the island before Peter's father died and they moved ashore.
I kept having the feeling that I should be able to go back to the island and finish what my father started. And when I finally wrote the book some 40-some years later, I realized that the island represented my father, and that's what I missed, and that's why I wanted to go back.
While the Jefferson of today isn't the island Peter remembers from childhood, he's encouraged by the success of Poplar Island's restoration, a novel story of hope in the tide of climate change.
I thought it was brilliant that they came up with not just a perfect place to put dredge spoils and rebuild the island, but incorporate that incredible wildlife habitat, which you see now. What we had in the way of wildlife here then was nothing compared to what they have now. To think that a lot of the material that went to rebuild Poplar Island came from what washed away years ago. It came back on to rebuild this thing that's going to live on for a long, long, long time. And one of my greatest sadnesses was that my parents couldn't see it.
Stream anytime, anywhere with the free PBS app.